Namaskar, welcome back friends. As I promised earlier, I will talk about ICI elections counting process. So here I am with the video explaining how this elections counting process takes place. So you mark preference 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Before going to the 1, 2, 3, 4, what happens with your ballots with marking and how it is counted. First of all, I would like to explain about the quota. So what is the quota? I am going to explain what exactly is quota. Take one example. For the simplicity, I am taking example with the round figure numbers, not with the actual numbers. What was the votes polled or casted during this election? So for example, there are 12,000 valid votes. So for the purpose of counting the elections quota, what we do is that all the votes are counted. For the invalid votes, those are removed from that. The postal ballots are added. So number of valid votes, that is counted. So say for example, number of valid votes are 12,000. So for this example, what are the number of candidates? So we take example that in WRC ICI Central Council elections, there are 11 members to be elected. Number of members are 11. We have valid 12,000 votes. So what is quota? So how quota is calculated is that number of votes divided by number of seats. Votes are 12,000, number of seats are 11, so I add one more, so that becomes 12. So 12,000 divided by 12. So here comes our quota, that is for our simplified example. In WRC real life election, this time the total votes polled was around 50,000. And I assume if this is 50,000 is a correct number, then divided by 12, so approximately 4,167, or maybe say 4,200 if we add the postal ballot also, so 4,200 would be around quota. So what happens now? We have our first preference counts. Okay, so first preference counts are done. You can see on the screen one example. So out of our 12,000 votes which is polled, these 4 people gets the number of votes like this. Say for A get 1200 votes, candidate X get 900 votes, candidate Y get 800 votes, and candidate Z gets 790 votes. So in this current scenario, what happens is that candidate A has got 1200 votes. Our quota is 1000 only. So this candidate has got more than 1000. So he has already crossed the quota. He's already won the elections. But it is not done like this, because he has got 1200 votes, he has got 200 extra votes than the quota, so his excess 200 votes will be divided. Now how this excess 200 votes will be divided, I'll explain you what happens in the. So this candidate is crossing the quota. 1200 is the number of votes he gets. Quota is 1000. So for calculating these 1200 votes distribution, what we will do is that we'll count 100 people didn't vote anybody. So they mark the first preference to candidate A, second preference they didn't voted anyone, it was exhausted, so those 100 vote will exhaust. We take another assumption that 600 people they voted for in their ballot second preference to candidate X. So candidate X gets 600 second preference vote from the A, and candidate Y get 200 votes from the candidate, and say for example candidate Z get 300 votes. So this is what this candidate gets. Now 100 I said already exhausted. Rest of the second preference votes, they will be distributed between X, Y, Z in the proportionate. So what will happen here, if we proportionally take it, 16.67 votes out of 200 excess is exhausted, they won't go to anyone. Out of these 200 votes, we proportionately distribute between those candidates with the second preference vote. The candidate X will get 100 votes, candidate Y will get 33.3 votes, and candidate Z will get 50 votes. So what we'll do is that we'll add these votes their original tally of first preference votes. So what you see in this chart, candidate A, it had 1200 votes, 200 is distributed, that excess, so it remains now with 1000 votes, so that candidate is elected. Now candidate X, he originally got first preference vote of 900, 100 votes he get transfer from the excess of the candidate A, right? So he got, because he got 600 second preference votes in that total 1200 number, so 50% he gets. So out of 200 he got 100. So now I added 100, so his total votes becomes now 1000 is the, so this candidate X is now elected. Now the candidate Y originally get 800 votes, now he get the excess from candidate A, and based on those second preference proportionate vote he get 33.33. same way the Z candidate get 790 original vote, 50 from this transfer, and get now it has the 840 votes. So out of second preference vote X is elected. And if you look at candidate 3 and candidate 4, what happens? Candidate 3, why? He originally had 800 votes, but after transfer he is now 833 votes. So originally he was at third number, but it moved to number 4 because the candidate Z had 790 votes. After addition from excess of candidate A, it gets now 840 votes. So if you look at the final tally, the candidate Z moves up to number 3, candidate Y becomes below because candidate Z has 840 votes, candidate Y has 833.33 votes. So now what will happen after this excess distribution? The Z has improved its tally, so now it is up and the candidate Y is down. So the next step is the elimination. What happens? All the excess are distributed in the same manner. After that we see who is getting the lowest number of votes. So in our case there are 22 candidates. So guy, a person who is at the 22nd rank after all the excess distribution is done, this person will be eliminated. So now we will talk about how the elimination takes place in. So in this case, after distribution of excess votes, we have seen that candidate Y is now down. So the votes of candidates Y, because he is being eliminated, will check the second preference vote of Y. So whatever the votes people voted second preference, they will be considered as a first preference for the candidate. So say in the candidate Y, few people voted for other candidates. So those votes will go as a first preference vote to the other candidates. So that way the candidate 22nd who is at the bottom will be eliminated. His second preference vote will be counted and would be go to the respective candidates whom this has been given. So that way that candidate goes. Now after this again the total will happen. After this transfer, it is possible people will move up and down on the list, and based on that whomsoever is in the bottom will be eliminated. So this exercise keep on going till the last 11th candidate remains. So after 12 candidates remain, whomsoever remains at the top 11 are the winners. So this is the typical things about our elections, and that is why you have seen that people get the fraction number of votes, and that is because they get these fractions from this decimal fractions votes they get from the excess voting. You have seen that people voting the second preference vote, how if that candidate is eliminated, that second preference goes to the candidate who has been voted as second preference in this ballot, so that becomes as a first. The same way, wherever you don't give the preferences, that votes are exhausted, they stops there, they don't move further. And that is why it is always told that if you want your candidate to win, or if you want right people to win, then make sure that all the candidates of your choice, your preference, you give preference to all of them. This is the way our counting happens, and this is the precise reason all the excess are distributed. Even if you have an excess of 10 votes, that 10 votes will be distributed, and that makes this process very, very lengthy, tiresome and long. And that is why you see 3 days, 4 days, 5 days you see the results, and that is precise reason because of this calculation. Hope this video explains you how this is done. You can type in the comments, we will answer that questions. You can reach out to our blog, the link is given in the comments box, and you can write your comments there also. We'll come up with more videos. You can write suggestions on what subjects you want to talk about. We'll come with predictions, we will come with our opinion, who is performing how, based on our discussion with the people, the ground reality we have seen. We'll take it forward. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Bye.